Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Before we get into today's video, it's a banger. Want to point you in the direction of BetVictor's Last Fan Standing, of course. Your boy's in it. Going to leave a link in the description. Go and check it out for this week.
Is Pogba even that player who's even good enough in the Man United midfield? But even so, who could they actually go out and buy to be able to rival a Thiago Fabinho at Liverpool? Well, I wouldn't say Kovacic is as good as those two at Chelsea. Maybe he is, but...
Enjoy the video.
Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Today, we've got something very different. It's a bit more of a dynamic concept to today's video, and I don't think, considering we're talking about 12 players that Chelsea could potentially sell this summer transfer window, I couldn't really have picked, after last night's result, a more apt place for this kind of video. There is an active volcano behind me, last erupted in the year 2000. This is Mount Batur in the north of Bali. I hope it doesn't erupt now, because we're going to have a pot of players' faces over to this side of me right here. And we're going to go through each 12, and as you can see from the bottom of the video, we have got safety, and then we've got the exit door. Now we're going to go through 12 players who I think could potentially leave, who could be personally considering leaving, or that Tuchel might be looking to replace in the summer. And I'm going to give my thoughts as to whether or not I think they're going to stay at Chelsea. So without any further ado, if you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, make sure you do so. I don't really think there's anyone else doing Chelsea videos in front of active volcanoes at the moment, so it's a bit unique. Subscribe, drop a like if you enjoy the concept, and we begin with Ruben Loftus-cheek, a man who has come back in favour recently. Thomas Tuchel's been saying good things about him. We had good performances, and then last night against Arsenal, everybody was kind of bad. So it's a bit unfair at the moment, because based off of the solo performances of the entire team last night, it's kind of difficult to talk about anybody in a positive manner, which is why it's such a good time to do this video. But for Ruben, I certainly think there is a lot more to his game than some of the other central midfielders at the club, in terms of what we could see, what we could use as a versatile utility player, with Ruben being able to play in the wing-back position. I think Ruben's better when he's playing as more like a number 8, as a more advanced player. So at this moment in time, to kickstart this video, I'm going to put Ruben closer towards the safety side of this line of safety and exit door. We move into Ross Barkley, and to juxtapose Ruben Loftus-cheek, we're going to immediately put Ross Barkley as close to that exit door as we possibly can, which ironically, it goes further away from the active volcano. But Ross Barkley's time at Chelsea is done. I think even if it was just him making the decision now, as much as he's on good money at Chelsea Football Club, surely, if you're Ross Barkley, you've got to be looking at the fact that the 2022 World Cup with Gareth Southgate as a manager, you're not even close to being in contention. You've got to be looking at your career thinking, surely there's a lot more to what I can do right now than just keep picking up a massive paycheck. So for Ross, not only do I not think Thomas Tuchel rates him at all, really. He's never used, he never really comes off the bench. We saw it earlier in the season. And then it was kind of below average performances frequently from Ross Barkley. The sun has come out, so I realise half of my face is in shadow, but hopefully it still looks nice. Ross Barkley immediately moves over to the right-hand side. We move into Andreas Christensen. It is pretty much guaranteed now. Andreas Christensen will not be a Chelsea player next season. After what we saw last night, the calamity that was against Arsenal, surely there's no way now that we can see him play for Chelsea. Trevor Chalobah's there sat on the bench, and I'm just wondering if maybe now it's up to Tuchel to not even start picking him for the remainder of the games this season, because it looked last night as if he kind of gave up on things. Tuchel said that he had an injury, which is why he brought on Thiago Silva, but I also think Tuchel's comments last night and the press conference after the game were also a bit skewed, because it wasn't because the pitch was naff as to why we lost last night. It was an overall poor performance because Chelsea looked like they didn't really care. We were playing like a Bruno Fernandes, Man United kind of comment where there's nothing to play for. That's how it seemed yesterday. Andreas Christensen is moving closer to the door. I think in terms of quality, he's definitely a better footballer for Chelsea than Ross Barkley, and actually had a say in us winning the Champions League. So we've got to rate that for a second. But I do think Christensen is moving closer to the exit door. We move into Timo Werner. And Timo Werner scored again last night. It's now 6 goal involvements in his last 4 games. And as a result of that, we're going to stick Timo Werner closer towards staying as he moves out the ball and he goes onto the line at the bottom. Timo's impressed me recently, and I've said it before, but there isn't many players where I feel as though I want to be as patient as I am right now, because there's something very likable about this guy. The way that he conducts himself in Chelsea media duties, the way he speaks in interviews. I know after a while, there's got to be an element where you stop thinking about, oh, the player's great with PR, he's great with the media, and he seems to get on well with everybody. The line's got to be drawn somewhere. But I think with Timo, we are starting to see now that he's actually a very good player. And he might not be the strongest and built for the Premier League, and he certainly is far more accustomed to being a more, let's say, potentially prolific striker in, say, the Bundesliga. But for now, I think Timo Werner is currently playing himself in, staying at Chelsea and being a part of Tuchel's plans for next season. Let me check the list and see who we got next. Malang Sarr. I think if you guys heard me say anything other than get him out after what we saw last night, I think you'd all throttle me. Not that you could, but if you could pick me up and dunk me in the lava, you probably would. This is black lava behind me, by the way. It's all dried out now, so even if I was to go and prod it with my fingers, it wouldn't burn. Malang Sarr is going out the door. He's not Chelsea level. I don't think he ever has been. I think there are times where he's looked good, but then even if I was in centre-back alongside Tony Rudiger and Thiago Silva, I think I would look quite good as well. We move into Christian Pulisic. This is an interesting one. This one is up for debate. The reason it's up for debate is not because Christian Pulisic is not a quality footballer. That is absolutely not in question whatsoever. However, what is in question is the reliability of Christian Pulisic. Yes, he has 2 or 3 good games in a row, but unfortunately, it's always then partnered with a couple of poor performances or another injury. But with Pulisic, it's a tough one because I do think there'll be at least 1 or 2 players in the wing forward-esque kind of position who might end up leaving Chelsea this summer. Do I think that we are yet to see the best out of Christian Pulisic? Absolutely. I think there's still so much more to give. I think he's a super talented player, but with this video, there is also the element of what is more likely, not necessarily just my opinion. So with Pulisic, we're going to stick him bang in the middle of that line because I think there is a chance that Chelsea could look to sell him to make some money and he might want to move. Game time isn't going to be favourable for him in the last 8 games of the season, but I also want him to stay. So Pulisic goes into the middle, moving in to Jorginho. Now Jorginho goes closer to the door than Christian Pulisic because you've got all of those agent flirtations with Italy. You've got Paris Saint-Germain being linked with him as well. And there is an evident decline in performances. And I think at the moment, what we're seeing at Chelsea is a very significant highlight on the fact that the central midfield position is somewhere that we really need to adjust in order for Chelsea to develop. I don't think Jorginho is necessarily Thomas Tuchel's perfect mould of what we want to have from a player sitting in front of the defenders. I do think a Tchouaméni or a Declan Rice would be far more suited in this Chelsea squad. Add that to the fact that Jorginho has been flirting with a move away for some time, and recent performances have not been his best. He goes closer to the exit door. I forget what list I've done here, so we move into Romelu Lukaku. Now, I can't believe I'm saying this. After only a few months ago, we were getting excited. We were stoked about Lukaku being back to Chelsea. I can't believe I've just said that we were stoked. I don't think I've said that in many years, but when he signed, when we saw the first performance at the Emirates, we got excited. We thought we had a proper striker who wanted to be at Chelsea on our hands. How things changed. It's amazing what a footballer doing a behind closed doors interview can do to fan confidence, manager confidence, teammate confidence, and player confidence in every single aspect apart from Lukaku showcasing that he does want to be back in Italy. That interview was a disaster. In every single sense of the word, nothing but bad publicity. Getting bombarded by flies here. But I don't see any way that Lukaku can stay at Chelsea beyond this season. What that means is there's a big question to be asked about the new owners and Tuchel. Does he back Armando Broja enough to fill Lukaku's void? Or can Chelsea even afford, or will we be able to go out and purchase another striker of the same kind of quality as the man that we're probably going to have to replace. I think Lukaku's gone. I'm not disappointed about it whatsoever. I wouldn't be bothered at this moment of recording this, the day after losing to Arsenal, when he puts in another shoddy 60 minutes. I wouldn't be upset if he never played for us again. We move into Marcos Alonso, a man who every summer a lot of people think Alonso's going to move. Interest in Spain, interest from Italy, but he seems to stay. And the thing is, all managers seem to back Marcos Alonso in some kind of like fluctuating way. But I do think Alonso's place at Chelsea is very safe. And the reason I think that is because I think Alonso isn't too unhappy about being an obvious second fiddle to Ben Chilwell. So with that, I think Alonso's inconsistencies are frustrating. And in an ideal world, we would go out and buy somebody more consistent and better than Alonso in the left back, left wing back position. But I don't think that is Chelsea's transfer bringing in priority right now. So for that reason, I stick Alonso quite far towards the safety net, because I think Chelsea will look to keep hold of him. Ian Maatsen at Coventry this season has been good. Do I think Chelsea will trust Maatsen to come back and immediately be the number 2 for Chilwell, who's been out injured all year? No. I think we will look to keep Marcos Alonso this summer. We move. We've got 3 more left here. Callum Hudson-Odoi. Now with Callum Hudson-Odoi, I put him slightly closer to the safety than Christian Pulisic, simply because of the contract that Callum Hudson-Odoi signed. He's been unlucky in the second part of this season with injuries. We were just starting to see the Hudson-Odoi that we really wanted to see. I've said the same thing over and over again about this fella. I think he's definitely got so much more in his locker, but we haven't been seeing it. He needs to believe in himself more. It's a bit like Ruben Loftus-cheek with Callum. Big injury, and since the injury, he's not really been playing with the kind of confidence we would like. But I do think Hudson-Odoi will stay. I think it is between him or Pulisic. I don't think both will be there next season. Let me know where each of these players sits on your line in the comments down below. The second to last one is Hakim Ziyech. And I do think Hakim Ziyech is such a niche player, and I do still think the best is yet to come. He's more senior than some of the other wingers, so he's actually got age in his favour in the sense of he is one of the older players in the squad. And I think that as much as Ziyech might personally want to move, depending on the minutes in the final 8 games, I would like to see him stay. I think the form before his injury was just starting to become that Hakim Ziyech that we knew was there. So I want Ziyech to stay. He stays a bit further towards the stay. It's getting a bit hot, the camera, apparently, so we're going to race through the last 2. I think Ziyech's going to stay. Moving into the final one, N'Golo Kante. Now, N'Golo Kante, this is tough because I do think Jorginho will leave this summer. Will Chelsea and Tuchel gamble with getting rid of 2 senior figures in the squad, central midfielders? I don't think he will, but maybe they do, because this is the final summer where Chelsea can actually bring in money for 30 plus players. After this season and what we're seeing with the decline of N'Golo Kante, if it gets worse, I don't see Chelsea being able to make massive money on this player. So I think Kante will stay, so he goes towards the stay as opposed to the trapdoor, but it is certainly one to question. I want Kante to stay because I love him. He's been my favourite player since he arrived and since Eden Hazard left. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments down below. Hope you've enjoyed looking at the volcano behind me. I'm sure everybody else in this campsite that I'm at right now is fuming that I've been sat here talking about Chelsea for 14 minutes, but they're going to have to lump it. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button if you did enjoy this video. I'll see you guys next time. Come on, you Blues.